The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, everybody, welcome to One Resource Group's weekly webinar. This is Jacob Locke, Director of Marketing over here at ORG. I apologize for the raspy voice. We just had our annual summer sales meeting. Was up way too late the past few nights, and I actually just landed in Marco Island down in Florida about 15, 20 minutes ago. So I'm a little low energy right now, but our good partner over at TLE, which is Jeff, has tons of energy. He's going to give you guys an idea and how you can extend your clients' term policies by 5, 10 years with no medical exam. And this product's perfect for, hey, you have clients that have term policies that are coming up on expiring that are over the age of 60. They may no longer be in perfect health. We're all in the industry. We know it happens more times than not. Jeff's going to do a great job at, hey, here's the ins and outs of the platform, how you can utilize it. With that being said, I'll shut up and let Jeff do his thing.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Thanks everybody for taking time out of their afternoon to listen to this. Can benefit you in your practice, and most importantly, how it can benefit your clients, your senior clients who have term policies that are nearing the end and who want to continue their coverage for whatever their reasons. Next slide, please. So we've developed a product that we think is really something pretty unique and a real breakthrough in the life insurance industry, where that happens very infrequently. We have been granted 2 patents on the process and the product that we're running, which pretty much confirms that there is nothing else like what we're doing out in the marketplace today. Next slide, please. So the market we're going after, as Jacob said, people over the age of 60 who want to continue their life insurance for the traditional reasons. They still have family that they care about and they need the coverage. They haven't saved enough for retirement. They're in a second or a third marriage and they have young children at home or teenage children at home, and they still have college expenses. Or they don't really need their insurance anymore, but they're too young and or too healthy to sell it in the secondary market. And if they could continue it for another 5 or 10 years, they would probably have a very valuable asset. So for whatever the reasons, they want to continue their coverage. They're no longer in perfect health. They're no longer in the same health they were when they bought their term insurance. And we've given them the ability to extend coverage for 5 or 10 years at an extremely affordable price, which you'll see as we go through this. Next slide, please. Amazingly, national statistics are that only 1 to 2% of all term policies in force in the United States get converted using the conversion option. For the vast majority of people, that is simply because when their level term period ends and they think about converting, they're too old to have something that is affordable for most people. The conversion costs to convert to a typical UL policy and pay a level premium are multiples of the term premium that they have been paying, and for the majority of people, they just can't afford it. Some people don't know about it, but for the majority, they can't afford it. It's a huge marketplace. It's the baby boom generation bulging through our demographics. There are going to be 18 million people turning 65 over the next 5 years, 10,000 people a day turning 65 at this point in time. So It's a huge marketplace, but finding someone who's a candidate for TLE is a process that involves speaking to your term clients and identifying which ones want to continue coverage and which ones have had a decline in health. And I'll go through why that's important to make this program work. Next slide, please. Almost all individual term policies have the contractual right to convert to a permanent policy at the original underwriting class. In some cases, that right terminates after a short period of time. In other cases, it continues for the life of the level term period or to some age, such as 65 or 70. And the language in the policy dictates what the term policy is convertible into. The most liberal definitions of conversion allow the insured to convert to any permanent policy that the carrier issues at the time of conversion. The most restricted say that there's one policy, or that the insured will be able to convert to a policy selected by the carrier at the time of conversion. And that typically is not a terribly competitive contract or cost-effective contract. As we've already discussed, very few people exercise their conversion right. And what we've done is we've paired that conversion right with a split dollar loan program, which gives your clients the ability to extend coverage at an affordable price. Split dollar, for those of you that are not familiar with it, very simply is a technique or a process developed by the insurance industry 100 years ago to allow two entities, either two individuals or an individual and a corporate entity, to split the costs and the benefits of a life insurance policy, very simply. And we've utilized that split dollar concept to make this extension of coverage affordable for your clients. Next slide, please. So what's the process? First step is that the term policy is converted to a permanent UL contract. Where program does not work with whole life, but either traditional UL, guaranteed UL, or indexed UL will work beautifully with TLE. Also do not use variable universal life products, just traditional UL. Once the policy is converted, a split dollar loan is made in the amount equal to the premium due for either the 5 or the 10-year term extension period that your client select. So we pay a premium, and that premium comes from a lender that we have multiple lenders that would love to fund split dollar loans like this. A premium, which is a lump sum premium for either a 5 or a 10-year period, comes at the beginning of the program, and it's sent directly to the carrier once the policy is converted and the paperwork is in place to put the term life extender program in force. Your client will pay an annual, what we call a term extension fee, to the lender, which is significantly less than the premium they would pay if they converted on their own and paid a level premium. Like any split dollar program, a collateral assignment is going to be filed with the insurance carrier that says if the insured dies during the term extension period or the split dollar loan period, The split dollar loan amount is repaid to the lender from the death benefit directly by the carrier, and the balance of the death benefit, which is typically 85 to 90+% of the face amount of the policy. So the vast majority of death benefit will be paid to the insured's beneficiaries. Next slide, please. There are two choices that the client has to make when they go into this program. The first choice is how long a period do they want to extend their coverage for, 5 years or 10 years? Like with term insurance, the longer the period, the higher the fee will be. And when we give you a proposal for your client, we show both what the 5-year and the 10-year extension costs will be for the client. The other choice is whether they choose what we call option 1 or option 2. Option 1 gives the client the first right of refusal to keep the policy at the end of the term extension period by paying the split dollar loan amount back and then doing what they want with it. If they want to continue to pay premiums going forward and hold on to it so that their family collects the death benefit, the full death benefit at that point, they can do so. If they want to go out into the secondary market and sell the policy, they can do that, or they can do some of each. The fee for option 1 is a little higher than the fee for option 2 because the client maintains the optionality to do what they want during the entire extension period. If they choose option 2, they're giving up that right of first refusal to the lender. And they're essentially saying, I want to pay the lowest fee I can to extend my coverage for the 5 or 10 years. And at the end of that 5 or 10 year period, I'm done. I don't have any other rights. The lender has the right to take the policy as collateral for the loan that I am not going to pay back, and I'll be able to just walk away. It's like buying a 5 or 10 year non-convertible term policy. Next slide, please. Although there's no underwriting, as we all know, to do a conversion of term policy to a permanent policy under a conversion option, we do underwrite as if it were a simplified issue case. So we'll collect medical records. We may get drug records, but we don't get fluids. We don't get an exam. And we do that in order to determine what kind of decline in health the insured has experienced since the term policy was issued. Because the term policy is going to be converted at the original underwriting class, we need to establish what they would get if they were to go out and buy a new policy today. And it's that decline in health, that arbitrage, that's part of the magic that allows us to give the clients the kind of discounts we give them to their conversion premium. Next slide, please. So the benefits to your clients are that obviously it allows them to extend coverage, needed coverage, for whatever their reason, at a cost that's affordable for a much larger number of people than if they were to just pay a level conversion premium on the UL policy. Next slide. Benefits to you are, number one, it gives you a new commission stream from a new market, because we have spoken to literally thousands of agents, and we have rarely found the agent that is actively marketing to their 60, 65, 70-year-old clients to try and convert their term, because they know that very, very few of them are going to be able to afford to do it. It's just not a lucrative market to go after. It makes it much, much more lucrative because so many more people using TLE can afford to pay the fees and will go ahead and convert under the TLE program. So the benefits to you are significant from that perspective. You're helping your clients solve a problem. And you'll see as we go through some of the case studies that we're about to go through, that the commissions generated from this program are very significant, especially when you compare them to the fees that your client will be paying. Next slide, please. So I'm going to run through a couple of case studies very, very quickly. This first case is a 69-year-old who had $1.5 million term policy with Lincoln. It was issued Preferred Plus, and if you were to go out and buy insurance today, he would be rated at table 8 according to our underwriter, who is a medical doctor who's done thousands of reviews of life insurance cases. Interestingly, even though this guy was a table 8, if he had been a table 1 or a table 2, TLE would have worked. So we know that Lincoln is a very good carrier, because what we've discovered is that there's an inverse relationship between the health of the insured and the quality of the contract that they're able to convert into. If it's a very competitive contract, they can be relatively healthy and TLE still works. If it's a fairly lousy contract, either TLE won't work at all, or they're going to have to be very sick for TLE to work. All right, go to the next slide. So in this particular case, whoops, oh, you got to go back more, back right, oops, stop. One more down. There, nope.
Hold on, give me 1 sec here. Nothing like some tech issues.
Okay.
Give me 1 sec.
Good.
Okay. 1 second. We'll be good.
Okay.
All right.
So now you have to go back.
No, we'll be good right here. Everything good?
Ah, yeah, that's perfect.
Perfect.
All right. Except that it's not the right case. You guys still do have to go up a couple of slides. Nope. One more down. No.
Not sure what's going on. This is the only one I'm seeing on here.
Ah. Can
Give
you
me
give
one.
me?
Give me one more
Can
try.
you give? All right.
Okay. This it right here?
That's it.
Okay.
All right. So this is the 69-year-old with $1.5 million Pru policy rated table 8. The level premium issued on a Preferred Plus basis to convert and pay a level premium under the Pru UL policy was $43,000 a year. You can see below the 5-year and the 10-year options that we were offering. Look at the TLE annual fee column, and you'll see that for 5 years, he would have to pay $10,250 a year instead of $43,000. For option 2 for 5 years, he'd have to pay $1,000 a year for $1.5 million of coverage, less the split down loan amount which was just under 100,000, 95,250. So he'd have $1.4 million of death benefit for $1,000 a year under option 2. You can also see that at the end of 5 years, using a 12% actuarial discount assumption, which is currently where the secondary market is today, the value of that contract would be $637,000. So you can see that if the client elects option 1, they pay $50,000 over 5 years, and they can pay the loan back of $95,000 and sell their policy if the market's still the same as it is today for a little over $600,000. For 10 years, the split dollar loan amount is $122,000. The net death benefit to the client is $1,377,000. And you can see that the option 1 fee is $14,000 and the option 2 fee is $2,000, and the value of the policy at the end of 10 years is almost $800,000. So you can see how significantly, this is a really good example of how significantly discounted the TLE fee can be with a really good carrier and someone who's at the same time significantly less healthy than they were when they bought their term policy. Next slide, please. Next case is a 72-year-old who has a $1 million John Hancock term policy, issued preferred. He's currently at table 2. Next slide. In this particular case, the level premium converted with John Hancock would have been $35,500. For 5 years, option 1 fee $14,000, option 2 fee $12,000. For 10 years, $20,000, $18,500. Still significant discounts to the level premium, and you can see the death benefit is 85 to 90% of what the full face of the policy is. Again, the value of the policy at the end of the either 5 or 10 years is more than enough to pay the loan back and still have some money kept in the client's pocket if they were to choose to sell their policy at the end and they took option 1. Next case. Okay, this is a 65-year-old who has a $5 million Pru policy. It was issued non-smoker plus, and he's only at table 1, so there's not very much arbitrage here. And yet, because Pru has a good competitive conversion contract today, next slide, you can see that there's still a very significant discount, somewhere between 50 and 98%, 97%, depending upon what options the client takes. And again, the death benefit significantly exceeds the split dollar loan amount in both 5 and 10 years. My bias always is the client, if they can afford it, the client should elect an option 1 TLE, simply because it gives them a lot of choice, and it maintains that choice throughout the 5 of the 10 years. I should say that there's no prepayment penalty if the client chooses to end the TLE program before the 5 or 10 year period, and they've elected option 1, they can pay the loan back at any time. So if they get significantly sicker, as an example, and they want to sell the policy to help cover medical costs, they can do that, and there's no cost or penalty to do so. Next case. This is a 68-year-old male with a North American $1.2 million term policy, issued non-smoker, uses table 2. Not a huge decline in health, but if you go to the pricing, the next slide, Jacob, next slide. Okay, you see that this is a good example of a case where the contract isn't quite as competitive, even though there's still not a huge decline in health. It does work, but not quite with the margins that the prior cases we've looked at worked. In this particular case, you've got discounts that range from 28% up to a little over 40%. But it works. And if the client can't afford 43,000, they may be able to extend their coverage, affording either the option 1 or the option 2. In this case, there's not very much difference between the two in terms of cost. And the value at the end of the program is enough to, again, pay the loan back and put a little bit of money in their pockets. Next slide, please. This is the last example. This is a $15 million equitable policy. Again, issued non-smoker, currently rated table 2. Next slide. Here you can see that Equitable's got a better contract than North American does, a convertible contract, a conversion contract. You can see the discounts range here from a little under 50% up to almost 73%. Same story, significantly lower costs for either the 5 or the 10-year, with value at the end of the 5 or 10-year period to enable the insured, if they were to choose to and sell the contract, to pay the loan back and still put money in their pockets. So I gave you 5 quick examples to show you that this program works with multiple carriers, with different underwriting status. What we're looking for is for you to go through your book of business, see if you've got term policies that are expiring with conversion options that are still in effect, and let us run them through our pricing to see if this is a viable alternative to either converting on their own or letting the policy lapse, which are basically the choices your client has. Next slide. Okay. So the results of pricing literally hundreds of cases, we've pretty much established that we can reduce the insured's outlay as compared to the level premium from anywhere from 25% at the low end to 75% plus. You saw in a couple of the cases there were 90% discounts to the level premium. So sometimes it goes a lot higher than 75, but the typical range is 25 to 75. And we're able to do that because we've put together a combination of factors, medical condition, age, and the quality of the contract that allows us to monetize the arbitrage that exists for many of your clients if you were to go through your book of business. I should spend a minute and talk about the commissions that are generated. Because of the way we fund these, by prepaying the premium for either 5 or 10 years up front in a lump sum, we're maximizing commissions on the conversion. We're always exceeding target premium, usually by a significant amount. So you get a full commission on the target, and you get an excess commission, which for most carriers is typically ranges between 1.5% and 3% of the excess amount above the target. And that generates a unusually large commission relative to what your clients pay in the annual fee. So it's a win-win-win situation. It's a win for us, it's a win for you as the agent, and it's a win for your client if they have a need to continue their term insurance. I am happy to open it up to questions. Jacob, if you'll field them for me, that'd be great.
Yeah, Jeff, I tell you what, man, despite the tech issues, we have more than enough questions to go through, which is a good thing. So I'll hop on into it first, which is first question is, are there any carriers that do not work with this plan?
Yes, and your salesperson at org does have a list of carriers which we've ranked. Ones we've sort of ranked as A carriers, where the conversion contracts are very competitive, and they pay commissions on conversion, because a couple of carriers have stopped paying commissions on conversion, as some of you may know. We've ranked some as C carriers, where sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. We really have to price it to see. And then F carriers, where they almost never work. So you can get that list from your salesperson at org, or my contact information is up here. You can get it directly from me if you want to contact me. If you go to my email, there's a Calendly link at the bottom of my signature on my email, which allows you to schedule a Zoom meeting with me, or just a phone call with me, if you want to discuss the specifics of a case or have questions that you want to discuss privately. Next question.
Absolutely. Next question is the agent's asking, where is the money coming from? Is it from third-party investors?
It's from institutional investors. We've got a number of life settlement funders that see this as a very attractive alternative to the life settlements that they're purchasing, who are interested in lending money. We've got some billionaire investors who love to make these $1 loan amounts. So it comes from multiple sources, both domestic and internationally. We've got funds overseas that also love to fund these $1 loans.
Sure. Next question is, agent is asking, if the client is more healthy than not, would this still work? I guess, like, what's the fine line on health? Like, if the client's healthy, go ahead.
There has to be some decline in health. If the client is in the same health condition they were when they bought their term policy originally, then in almost all instances, the cheapest option for them will be to just go out to the market and buy a new term policy. But there doesn't have to be a lot, depending upon the quality of the carrier, as you saw from some of the examples I showed. But typically, we need somewhere between a 2 and a 3 table arbitrage between the conversion underwriting class that they're able to convert into and their current health status today. We need typically minimum 2 to 3 table arbitrage to make TLE work.
Sure. Next question is here. Agent is asking, what are some of the best practices when marketing TLE?
You know, we've yet to have an agent say, I want to spend a lot of time in my practice marketing this, because I think it's such a fantastic product. Although I think it would be a great idea if somebody did that. You know, there are loads of people with term policies And if they were presented an affordable option to keep them when the level term period came to an end, and or more importantly, when the conversion option is about to expire. And that's another actually important point to make. They do not always coincide. An awful lot of policies will have a term conversion option expiration that comes 5 years or 10 years before the level term period ends. So you really have to look at when that conversion option expires in order to make sure that you've got a candidate for TLE. But you don't have to have sold the term policy in order to market TLE to people who own term insurance. People hook up with a Medicare agent who's just selling Medicare, supplementary coverage, and go through their book of business with them and split the case. Go out and the very first step, obviously, is go through your own book of business. And for those of you that are working with org, which I presume most are if they're on this phone call, org does have the ability to run your term book of business through their systems and identify which cases are coming due and which cases you should follow up on. So you should speak to your salesperson at org if you want to explore them doing that for you, as opposed to literally, creating a spreadsheet and going through your own book and manually doing it yourself. I don't know if that gave you enough of an answer, but
Right. No, I think you did a great job in answering that.
okay.
We have a lot more questions, so we'll keep this rolling. Next question is, the advisor is asking, what is the maximum age for the program?
The conversion option expiration, and that varies from contract to contract, from carrier to carrier. We have literally priced a case on an 80-year-old who still had a conversion option that had not expired in their contract. So it really depends upon when that conversion option expires. But for the vast majority of cases, we're looking at 65 to 75 years old is the real target age range.
Right.
We will go down to 60 given the right situation.
Right. Perfect. Next question is would you please explain the option 1 and option 2 again?
Yes. It's really simple. Option 1 gives the client the right of first refusal to pay the split dollar loan back at the end of their term extension period and do what they want with their policy. Continue to pay premiums, go out, sell it, sell some, keep some, whatever they want. And the fee for option 1 is higher than for option 2, as we saw in the examples that we went through, because they're maintaining that optionality of making the decision. Do I want to keep the policy when this extension period ends, or don't I? And I don't have to make a choice until either the 5-year or the 10-year period ends. Option 2, you pay a much lower fee, sometimes much lower, sometimes a little bit lower, but you pay a lower fee, and you give that right of first refusal to the lender. So that you're basically saying, I don't want this policy at the end of the 5 or 10 years. I just want to extend coverage for that period of time, and that's it. I don't care about it after that. So the lender has the right to basically take your policy as collateral in lieu of your paying the loan back.
That's great. Next question is when you mention the sale of the policy, does that involve a life settlement?
Yes, if the client wants to go out and sell their policy in the secondary market, that is a life settlement.
Right.
Doesn't have to happen. This is not a life settlement. This TLE program is not a life settlement, but it could end up as a life settlement if at the end the client has chosen option one and they decide that they want to sell their policy. You know, we get a lot of cases on clients that are in their mid 60s, sometimes even late 60s, with modest decline in health, a table 2 or a table 3. They're too young and too healthy to get a attractive offer in the secondary market now. But if they extend their coverage for 5 years or 10 years, depending on how old they are, even without a further decline in health, and we all know that when we go from 68 to 78 or 68 to 73, very often there is further decline in health. But assuming no further decline in health, the policy will have significantly more value in the secondary market and could be an excellent candidate for sale at that time. So for those people who say, you know, I don't really need the insurance anymore, I'm about to retire, I have enough money to take care of myself and my wife, my kids are grown, but if I surrender it today, I'm going to get practically nothing from the carrier. And if I go out and sell it, I'm not getting an attractive offer. And you know, I can afford to pay the term life extender fee for 5 years and get a good return on my investment, because then I can sell it for a lot more. It can lead to a life settlement in some instances. We also have cases where the client has chosen option one, they've exercised their right to pay the split dollar loan back, but they fully intend to just continue to pay premiums because their health has declined and they're looking at their mortality and they're saying, you know what, I want to keep this policy for my family. I can afford it, and it'll give them a significant amount of additional assets at my death.
Love that. Looks like we have 2 or 3 more questions. We'll wrap it up here. This advisor is asking, will this program work for my clients that are 80?
If the conversion option is still in effect, which is very unlikely, but you can check with the carrier, if the conversion option is still in effect, it might work.
Perfect. Another question here. Do you know the average case size on these plans?
The average case size is somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million, but $1.2 million is the average.
Right.
But we will take cases down to $500,000, and there is no upper limit on the size of the case that will work or that we'll take. You saw that we had in one of the case studies, it was a $15 million case, which was not a problem for the lender that said they would fund that loan if it were closed.
Absolutely. It looks like we have 3 or 4 questions asking if there will be a recording of this webinar. Yes, we'll send that out via email tomorrow and have this recording uploaded to our YouTube channel as well, so you can find it there. Looks like we're wrapping up here on questions. Anything else you want to address before we hop off here, Jeff?
No, as I said before, we would love to take a look at cases if you've got them. My email, my phone number are up on the screen. You can set up a Zoom a meeting with me or a phone call with me using the Calendly link, or just give me a call directly if you prefer. And I'm happy to discuss details of any case with anyone on the call.
Absolutely, Jeff. I appreciate you hopping on here, and we appreciate all of our agents and advisors hopping on this call. I know you're all plenty busy seeing clients doing your thing. I was telling Jeff before the call, we had our annual summer sales meeting the past 2 days, so lost my voice, half asleep, and then I just hopped on a plane to Marco Island, Florida. So I'm bound to catch some sunshine here. But I appreciate everybody hopping on. Stay tuned for our webinar next Wednesday. Jeff, again, thank you for your time, and hopefully
Thank
we have
you.
some
Thank you for hosting me.
fun. Absolutely. Everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.